And welcome to this video. This video is going to be interesting as we'll transform this simple looking scatter chart with lots of useful information, which is going to look like this. Scatterplot on the screen shows the trend line, the equation for the trend line, and also the R-square value. So our scatterplot also shows the mean values of both the X and Y variables. We have plotted the box plots for both the variables also. So let's start creating the chart. We would use these libraries or packages. To plot our chart, we need some sample data, and we'll be using the BP package or the BP library, and there's a data set in that which is called BP_JHS, and this contains the blood pressure readings and the pulse. So we'll be interested in the pulse reading and the systolic blood pressure. So let's make use of these two variables. So here is our first chart. We'll be simply creating a basic scatter plot using ggplot. So here we go. So data is going to be the BP_JHS, and the X variable would be the pulse, and Y variable would be the systolic blood pressure. So pulse and systolic blood pressure both are numerical variables, and we are going to plot a geom point or a scatter plot. So there we go, and if I run it, we'll end up with a simple, very basic scatter plot. Of course, we can enhance this chart a bit further by using a built-in theme, and I'm going to use the theme BW, and you can see that the look and feel of this chart has changed. As we have two numerical variables in the scatter plot, we can also plot the box plots for the x-axis and the y-axis as separate charts, and then we'll try to combine them later. The orientation of the box plots is important as well. For example, for the x-axis, we have the pulse. So the pulse box plot should be horizontal, whereas the systolic blood pressure box plot should be vertical. So let's complete this box plot. We are going to use the geom box plot, and we're going to fill it with a color. And how do we find out the color? So there are various ways to find out the color. One is to simply go to web and find out the color, but the best thing I found is that you can simply type the string called colors, open bracket and close bracket, and that'll give you all the named colors within R. So I can go there and say colors, and if I do that, I get a list of all those about 600, more than 600 colors, which can be plotted directly by giving the name within the R. Can't really see what the colors are going to look like. There's a neat trick. If you enclose those colors in a quote, single quote or a double quote, you can actually see the colors. So I'm just going to pick two random colors from this and then simply go ahead with our chart. So one of the colors is dark olive green, and we can simply complete this chart, and if I run this chart, you would see that the chart has been created, and this is with a horizontal orientation. We are ready to draw our third chart, which is going to be the box plot for the systolic blood pressure, and this is going to be vertical in nature, and I'm filling it with the color gold. The next step would be to join all the three charts together, and there are so many libraries available in R which can be used, but I'm going to use the aplot because this works best for this particular use case. So our main chart is the PL1 chart, which is the scatter plot. So using PL1 as the main chart, I'm going to insert left a PL3 or the PL3 box plot which we created for the systolic blood pressure, and it's very, very wide, and we can reduce the width of the box plot which we inserted on the left side by giving the width command, and I can say width equals 0.1, so almost 1/10 of the original size. This looks good. And similarly, we can introduce the third chart on the bottom side, which is going to be the PL2 chart, which was for the pulse, and this is going to be on a horizontal orientation. So insert bottom PL2. Let's run this, and we can see that the third chart has been shown at the bottom. Again, it's too wide or too high. I'm going to reduce the height of this one to 0.1. Notice that the one which we created on the left side, we use the width command, and the one which is at the bottom, we use the height command. So the chart is almost looking good. We have the box plots and the scatter plot. So let's remove that gray coloring on the box plots. So we can simply use the theme void, which gets rid of all the formatting. And if I use theme void on PL2, and I can also use the same command on PL3. Let's run this together, PL2 and PL3, and then the combined plot. It looks good now. Now in the scatter plot, we would like to introduce the mean lines, one for the horizontal axis and one for the vertical axis. To do that, we can modify our PL1 chart and do a geom V line for the vertical line, and I'm using the pulse value there, and then similarly I can use a geom H line, and then I can use the systolic blood pressure value there, so that the mean of both the variables, X and Y variable, is plotted as a red vertical line and a horizontal line. Also try to add a title, and if you notice that I've used a wrong label there on purpose, so I'm using age and glucose levels. Remember that when we try to fix this later on. So the chart has the title and the subtitle. That looks good. But if you look at the positioning of the labels or the titles, they're not aligning to the left of the start of the chart. That's tricky, and let's try to solve it. A normal way to solve this would be to have another command in our PL1 or the first chart. So the whole idea is to get the titles starting from the extreme left of the chart, of the combined chart, but that's not happening at the moment because it's not going to the extreme left. To solve this tricky problem, I'm going to use the patchwork library and then convert our basic A plot chart to the patchwork plot. So by doing this and putting this into another object, I've been able to do that. With that, we need to now make use of the patchwork functionality, which allows us to have an overall title to the combination of the plots, and that will do the trick. So let's see how it's going to work. So I'm going to say patch plot, then I'm going to add the patchwork command called plot annotation, and in that I can put a title, a subtitle, and caption, etc. So I can give the title there, and I can also give the caption and also a subtitle, and I'm going to add 2 lines in my subtitle. So I'm using the paste 0 command, and I'm giving 2 lines of text which is going to get plotted. So if I run it now, you would see that our correct title subtitle has been plotted, but we have a problem because our old subtitles which were wrong are still there. So I'm going to remove them from PL1, because now we have an overall title given by the patchwork library. So we shouldn't have any titles in PL1, PL2 or PL3. So now give a combined patchwork title, and that does the job. And we're still a bit further away from our final chart because we want to plot the R square, our equation for the trend line, and also the trend line. So let's start doing that. Using the ggp miscellaneous package, we can make use of the stat polyline command, which will give us a trend line. We can remove the gray envelope using the se equals false command. The standard error envelope is gone. Now finally, here is the way to add the R square and also the equation for the trend line. So using the gp miscellaneous package again, stat poly eq gives us the eq or the equation and the R square. Chart is almost ready now. All we need to do is add the lines for the mean in the Boxplot. Boxplot was only showing the median at the moment, which is the standard way of showing the Boxplot, but we can also add a mean line. So I'm using the V line, the geom V line, the vertical line, and then giving the x-intercept as the mean value of the pulse, which is going to be this. And similarly, I can add the same line into PL3 as well, and this time is going to be a horizontal line, H line, and with H line we need to give the y-intercept. So with that, V line with the x-intercept and H line with the y-intercept for the plots. So box plots would have those lines. And here is a finalized plot with the trend line, with the equation, with the R square, with the box plots, the mean lines for the box plot, and also the mean lines for the scatter plot. So I hope you found this information useful and practical. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.